You have to be realistic. You have to just define your circle of competence accurately. You have to know what you don't know and not get enticed by it. Diversification is a protection against ignorance. I'm looking at a bond that had a whole bunch of coupons on it that was due in 100 years, and if you can see what those coupons are, you can figure the value of that bond compared to...
What we're trying to find is a business that for one reason or another, it can be because it's the low-cost producer in some area. It can be because it has a natural franchise, because of service capabilities. It could be because
You have to be realistic. You have to just define your circle of competence accurately. You have to know what you don't know and not get enticed by it. You can't be... You have to have an interest in money, I think, or you won't be good at investing. But I think if you're very greedy, it'll be a disaster, because that will overcome rationality. But I think the same books I read and really molded how I thought about businesses and investing. I think that they're just as valid now. I mean, I haven't seen anything in the last 25 years, and I glance through most of the books anyway. I've seen nothing to improve on Graham and Fisher in terms of the basic approach of going about investing, which is to think about stocks as businesses and then think about what makes a good business. And really that's all there is to investing, and having a margin of safety, which Ben talks about, and so on. It's not a complicated process, but it definitely requires discipline. It requires insulating yourself from popular opinion. You simply can't pay any attention to it. It just doesn't mean anything. So you can't. The idea of listening to lots of people tell you things, it's just a waste of time. And you'd be better off just sitting and thinking a little better. We think diversification is, as practiced generally, makes very little sense for anyone that knows what they're doing. Diversification is a protection against ignorance. I mean, if you want to make sure that nothing bad happens to you relative to the market, you own everything. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a perfectly sound approach for somebody who does not feel they know how to analyze businesses. If you know how to analyze businesses and value businesses, it's crazy to own 50 stocks or 40 stocks or 30 stocks probably, because there aren't that many wonderful businesses that are understandable to a single human being in all likelihood. And to have some super wonderful business and then put money in number 30 or 35 on your list of attractiveness and forego putting more money into number 1 just strikes Charlie and me as madness. And it's conventional practice, and it may, if all you have to achieve is average, it may preserve your job, but it's a confession, in our view, that you don't really understand the businesses that you own. If we could see, looking at any business, what its future cash inflows or outflows from the business to the owners, or from the owners, would be over the next, we'll call it 100 years, or until the business is extinct, and then could discount that back at the appropriate interest rate, which I'll get to in a second, that would give us a number for intrinsic value. In other words, it would be like looking at a bond that had a whole bunch of coupons on it that was due in 100 years, and if you could see what those coupons are, you can figure the value of that bond compared to government bonds if you want to stick an appropriate risk rate in. Or you can compare one government bond with 5% coupons to another government bond with 7% coupons. Each one of those bonds has a different value because they have different coupons printed on them. Businesses have coupons that are going to develop in the future too. The only problem is they aren't printed on the instrument, and it's up to the investor to try to estimate what those coupons are going to be over time. As we have said, in high-tech businesses or something like that, we don't have the faintest idea what the coupons are going to be. When we get into businesses where we think we can understand them reasonably well, we are trying to print the coupons out. We are trying to figure out what businesses are going to be worth in 10 or 20 years. When we bought See's Candy in 1972, we had to come to the judgment as to whether we could figure out the competitive forces that would operate, the strengths and weaknesses of the company, and how that would look over a 10 or 20 or 30-year period. And if you attempt to assess intrinsic value, it all relates to cash flows. The only reason for putting cash into any kind of an investment now is because you expect to take cash out. Not by selling it to somebody else, because that's just a game of who beats who, but by, in a sense, by what the asset itself produces. That's true if you're buying a farm, it's true if you're buying an apartment house, it's true if you're buying a business.
I would argue that one filter that's useful in investing is the simple idea of opportunity cost. If you have one opportunity that you already have available in large quantity, and you like it better than 98% of the other things you see, well, you can just screen out the other 98% because you already know something better. So that people who have a lot of opportunities tend to make better investments than people that don't have a lot of opportunities, and people who have very good opportunities, and using a concept of opportunity cost, they can make better decisions about what to buy.
What we're trying to find is a business that for one reason or another, it can be because it's the low-cost producer in some area. It can be because it has a natural franchise, its service capabilities. It could be because of its position in the consumer's mind. It can be because of a technological advantage. Any kind of reason at all that it has this moat around it. And then what we have to decide is all moats are subject to attack in a capitalistic system. So everybody is going to, if you've got a big castle in there, people are going to be trying to figure out how to get to it. And what we have to decide, and most moats aren't worth a damn in capitalism. I mean, that's the nature of it, and it's a constructive thing that that's the case. But we are trying to figure out why is that castle still standing? And what's going to keep it standing or cause it not to be standing 5, 10, 20 years from now? What are the key factors, and how permanent are they? How much do they depend on the genius of the Lord in the castle? And then if we feel good about the moat, then we try to figure out whether the Lord is going to try and take it all for himself, or whether he's likely to do something stupid with the proceeds, etc. But that's the way we look at businesses. Charlie, you want to add anything?
Well, I think he wants it translated into the ordinary terms of economics. The honest Lord is low agency costs. That's the word in economics. And the microeconomic business advantages are, by and large, advantages of scale. Scale of market dominance, which can be a retailer that just has huge advantages in terms of buying cheaper and enjoying higher sales per square foot. So by and large, you're talking economies of scale. You can have scale of intelligence. In other words, you can have a lord with enough extra intelligence that he has a big advantage. So by and large, you're talking scale advantages and low agency costs.
If you found this video valuable, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and share your thoughts in the comments below.